Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. My name is Lynette and I'm from the NUS Alumni Office. Thank you for being part of You Alive, a platform to showcase the many outstanding members of the NUS community who are championing causes that will make this a better world. This program is in 3 sections: a 10-minute talk by Dr. Tan Lai Yong, a 10-minute interview with Vizwa Sadasivam, Chairman of the You Alive Organizing Committee, followed by a 40-minute Q&A session. If you wish to ask a question, please make your way to the microphones placed along the aisles. Do introduce yourselves and speak directly into the microphone. This is essential so the online community is able to hear your question. In addition, do keep your questions short and concise, remembering to focus on the why of his passion and not so much the technical details of his work. Once again, thank you very much for your kind attention. Please sit back and enjoy.
You Alive.
We are a global university. We have a global vision. We recruit students and faculty from around the world. We give them opportunities to learn how to be effective in many cross-cultural settings. And we do this by creating a very diverse environment in NUS. And when people from outside look at the university community, what they see are very rigorously educated individuals who do well in their work.
But you know, there are so many universities that are catching up today, and we need to look for a differentiating factor.
We must have strong heart. We must go beyond just merely academic excellence.
Not what the university does and does well, but what the university stands for.
And that is the passion of the community, students, faculty, staff, and alumni, the spirit of the explorer. Somebody who is mentally curious, who has got initiative, resourcefulness, willing to break new ground, which requires boldness, and yet is somebody who is prepared to do something different, to make a contribution.
NUS needs to be seen as an organization that is the nurturing ground for people with great passion and the will to go out there and make a difference to their society. And that's what underscores You Alive. University that's alive.
Where we have members of the NUS community share their passion and their commitment and their contributions in many diverse fields.
To share their achievements, to share what they have gone through in their life with the student and the graduate community.
Could have been a student. He or she could have been or is a teacher, a faculty, could even be an employee, a staff member, or most importantly, an alumni.
Individuals who have committed themselves to do very interesting and different things in many varied aspects and dimensions of sports, arts, culture, community service, academic work. And what distinguishes them is a great passion that they bring to their work.
The speaker speak for 10 minutes about not so much what he does, but why he does it. What sort of trials and tribulations has he faced? Why does he believe in this? And after that, there will be a question and answer, an interview, a fairly tough interview. Following that, there will be a live question and answer session with an audience comprising about 100 people. You Alive will be in 3 different dimensions. One, in the auditorium, right, in front of a live audience. While that's going on, it will be carried live via webcam to the student population on campus. And the students can actually interact live while they're watching it. The third dimension is we're going to be pumping it to linked websites to more than 200 universities, some of the top universities in the world.
There's another very important dimension to U Alive, and that is it's mainly driven by our alumni.
The whole idea is to provoke thought, ignite that latent flame that I believe strongly exists in each one of us.
There are many things in life that will catch your eyes, but few will catch your heart. And only when you pursue something that you are passionate about can you achieve greater heights.
And to make even more distinctive contributions to the society we live in and to the wider world beyond.
You Alive will epitomize that.
Passion,
Action.
inspiration.
You Alive. His family was poor, but he was determined to become a doctor, and his medical degree would take him far off the beaten path. He is NUS graduate Dr. Tan Lai Yong. We scratch beneath the surface to discover the passion that drives him, getting healthcare and healing to those who need it most.
These village doctors, they live so far away. Maybe the nearest hospital from their home village is 4 to 6 hours drive, plus maybe an hour or two walk. You know, if I can only teach them to spot one disease, or to treat diarrhea, which is so devastating to babies, or to help a pregnant mother have good food, really makes a difference to these small little villages up in the mountain.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Tan Lai Yong.
Good evening. Thank you for coming in the rain. And this rain reminds me of a tropical downpour in Sichuan Bana, where my family and I lived in 1996. And to help us capture the feeling of what is it like to be in Yunnan, we downloaded a YouTube clip about life there. It's taken off from Channel News Asia. Just a short video clip. Maybe we can just watch it.
There is a rough beauty to Sichuan Bana, a mountainous province at the southernmost tip of Yunnan, China. More than 2/3 of her people are ethnic minorities, and the tough terrain had made necessities like healthcare and education hard to reach. Until a passionate doctor from Singapore chose to make his rounds here. For 13 years, Dr. Tan Lai Yong has been on duty here in Yunnan. He's a lecturer at the Kunming Medical College, but is regarded as a healer and a teacher by people far beyond the classroom of a medical school. Dr. Tan has been actively involved in training village doctors. Most village doctors in the region are farmers who've barely finished high school and are ill-equipped to handle the illnesses and injuries brought to their attention. By designing the curriculum, imparting knowledge, providing financial help, and handling daunting logistical problems, Dr. Tan has been pivotal in empowering the village's help and heal themselves.
When I first came, I was trying to understand the role of the village doctors.
we usually draw pictures of kids, women, old people, and we ask them to name the commonest 3 diseases they face. And then we start our curriculum from there. From basic diagnosis to mother and child health to control of infectious disease, and also to get them out of the village clinic into the community to do preventive health education.
Ai Wen Dan, a member.
Well, if you like, you can watch it off YouTube. But take some time to share with you lessons learned over in Yunnan. We went there in 1996 after in fact, I was a bond breaker. I almost completed my bond, right? And I went to Sichuan Panna. Sichuan Panna in Yunnan is Thai speaking. It's Sipsong Panna, 12 rice growing areas. And we stayed at the southern tip where Yunnan meets Myanmar, Laos. Yunnan is a beautiful land, 90% mountains. It's so different. I remember coming back to Singapore and showing pictures of the farm, buffaloes plowing, to a group of kindergarten students in my church. And I asked them, where does rice come from? And one boy put up, sir, rice come from the supermarket. And then the little girl beside him said, no, rice comes from the rice cooker. So at least 26 different ethnic groups, different races up in Yunnan. This is an ultimate super GRC. I mean, you want to have minority representation. They're beautiful people, and they speak their different languages. And we work with this group that had this motto, caring for the poor. And we always are trying to understand who is the poor. And my working definition is, if someone has a choice of if you would have a choice of what you will eat in your next meal, you belong to the richer 30% of the world. You don't have to eat, just that you have a choice of what you want to eat. That means you want to eat mee rebus or chicken rice, where and what you want to eat for your next meal. We already belong to the richer portion of the world. We have caring for the poor, we have sharing knowledge. We don't give handouts. I'm pretty stingy. Even when Singaporean teams come with goodies, with winter clothes, I say, no, we don't give handouts. We draw a poster, we sing a song, we play an activity, and they always earn it as an incentive. And loving people. Not giving handout doesn't mean we stand far away. We get close to them. And this is cleft palate child, cleft palate twins. And cleft palate is technically not a difficult operation, but it's also not a money-making operation. So the first thing when we meet cleft palate babies, what would the first thing we will do? Going into environments like this, the first thing often is to tell the mother, you're all right. Because a lot of them think, I must have done something dreadful to deserve a baby like this. It's not about sutures and medicine. It's about telling the mother, actually, it's all right. 1 in 600 babies get this. They say, why don't we see it in Singapore? I said, well, we do see them in Singapore. It's not that we Singaporean people are more saintly, but we repair them quickly. So out in the villages, you still see teenage girls hiding because they have a cleft in the mouth. I remember going to the village and asked the mother, what is your child's problem? Expecting like a running nose or fever because of cleft palate. And the mother said, my boy has no friends. Doesn't go to school because other people disturb him. I remember after the surgery, when the Singapore General Hospital team came, did the surgery, they went home, and I went back a couple of weeks later and asked the mother, how is your child? I mean, I'm expecting follow-up. It was a fever, wound infection, and the mother says, my son has friends. It's totally different. And this is the scenario now. There's no marked starvation, right? I quote this from India. We didn't starve, but we didn't eat chicken unless we were sick or the chicken was. That's malnourishment, right? But there is not exactly starvation going on. And though going there as a doctor, I quickly discovered that there's no healthy person without a healthy environment. So the whole drive to create a healthy environment for the farmers. And well, I cannot plant rice. It's backbreaking. I think we are from that generation where we sang the song, planting rice is never fun. And the farmer will never let you plant rice, because if you plant wrongly, he finds out 6 months later that you planted wrongly and he got no rice. So we plant trees. Planting trees as a way of protecting the environment, protecting water sources, preventing soil erosion. So this was a favorite activity that I had, to plant trees. If you imagine communities like this, that's my son and his friend planting trees. They started young. Their annual income could be as low as 1,500 renminbi a year. It means 300 Singapore dollars a year. If we get in there and plant 10, 20 walnut trees, chestnut trees, 1 kilogram earns them 10 renminbi. If they harvest 500 kilograms, which 10 trees can give them, you literally make a poor farmer very rich. So we got into planting trees. And I learned about leaves and planting trees. So Yunnan has up in the mountain, so we carry these trees up to the mountain. It's a long way to walk. And then I have to water. You know, we learned the song Jack and Jill went up the hill to carry the pail of water. Actually, there's no water up the hill. The water is always in the valley. I went there and said, oh, my kindergarten teacher taught me wrongly, man. So to carry all this heavy water up to the mountain to water the tree that I planted, it was very tough work. So I invite Viswa to be my tree. Okay, please welcome him. I need help, huh? So imagine after planting this tree, right, and then this
As you can see, I'm not a coconut tree. I'm an oak tree. Broad, well selected.
So planted this tree here, sweating, and then going downhill to carry water maybe a kilometer away. So 1 pail per tree. And here, literally, I would take the pail of water, and what would you do? You water the tree, right? I water the tree. The farmers, being very polite, never say anything. They took their water. They don't water here. They water here. So I asked them, what did we do different? And there's one thing we have always said, we have to be curious. Okay, I have a medical degree, learning to plant tree. And I asked them, why I water here and why you water here? What's the difference? Why? And they're very shy. It's okay, it's all right. Yeah. Years later, literally, they told me a principle, which
Can I put my arms down?
Cannot. Okay? They told me what is now known as the leaf line principle. That if you look at the tree and you go to where the edge of the canopy or the trees or the leaves are, and you drop a line down, that's where the new roots are. He says we want to water slightly away from the new roots to make sure that the tree grows. Sure, the core values, the trunk, are important. Once that is stabilized, the farmer says they water away and they put the fertilizer away such that the tree would grow. And that was a tremendous lesson for me.
Can I
Thank
put
you.
my arms down?
Yes.
Give my hand. The farmer doctor, I hope you have conveyed this to NParks, because I still see them watering the roots, okay?
I don't claim to be an expert.
I think it's a Singaporean problem. It's probably a metaphor. We keep watering the wrong places, No wonder we have a problem with talent, in Singapore, right? One thing about this man, he shared with me just now that every day he cycles 40 kilometers to go to work, and he cycles back home 40 kilometers. Yes?
Round trip, 40
Or round trip 40. That's a lot still, right? Every day, right? And it's amazing that you do that and you enjoy the work. You're telling me how much you enjoy the work, how much you come back, and then your son says, Dad, let's go cycling, and he obliges, right? On a serious note, I guess it's about the level of happiness you get, the sense of accomplishment, you know, and which is probably my first question to you. One of the things that you have highlighted, you know, in our conversations is that you're not interested in Singapore. A lot of Singaporeans have indicated interest in serving, in volunteering, you know, in China, in Yunnan, and so on. But you have made it very clear. Your condition is you don't want Singaporeans to go there with a messianic approach to say, we are here to help you. If there's no willingness to learn from the community you're there to serve, you're not needed. You're quite principled, quite particular about that. What accounts for that?
For my wife and I, a lot of the joy comes from learning from the people, right? Learning about why they do what they do. They have their reasons. Right? We hang around in the marketplace. They have a marketplace once a week. We hang around at festivals. We visit their homes. We want to learn from them. Right? If we don't learn from them, we'll be importing good stuff, good medicine, good hygiene, good educational protocols, but which may be irrelevant to them. So it's an offshoot of what I tell the other Singaporean friends. Thank you for coming, but come with a learning heart. Otherwise, we may just be doing things that are not relevant. That is just putting it mildly. But we may be doing things that are bad for them.
Could you give us an illustration of what you mean by bad? What kind of situations could there be where it's actually counterproductive or even damaging?
Well, if you go into an environment and you say, look, this is a plot of land. It produces 400 kilograms of rice every year. I bring you a new rice breed that can produce 800 kilograms. Is that good? If you are successful, you may come next year and find that the farmer planted half the land. Why? I said, half the land gives me 400. Right? He allows the land to follow. And what values are we putting onto them? Right? Chase of materialism. So we have to couch effectiveness, efficiency, productivity in ways that are relevant to them. So I have to understand that if the farm is not producing because there is drunkenness or drug addiction, I think somewhere along the way we are able to say, no, right? We want to help you stop drug addiction or drunkenness. Right? That is the goal. The goal isn't necessary to double your income. Right?
And do you feel that the Singaporeans that you've met who actually do volunteer work overseas tend to go in with that attitude? Have you seen that yourself?
Which attitude?
The attitude of trying to promote materialism. Believing that it's in their interest.
I don't think many of us actively promote materialism.
Yeah, of course.
It comes part and parcel of who we are. So unless we check it at Changi Airport, right, and left luggage somewhere, you know, then we will bring it along. Right? So I think if we go there, we have skills to offer. I mean, the Singapore brand name of efficiency, the few things that were very encouraging when our teams go over efficiency, multiracial harmony. They were surprised that our teams of different religion and races could work well together without much supervision. They would typically say that their students will listen to the teacher say, go and plant trees, and they will all say yes, but may not do it. Our students listen to the teacher say, go and plant trees on the mountain, and the students say, wow, walk so far, wow, very hot, but they will do it. Right? So they say, this is different. Your teacher didn't really make them do it. Explain to them why they need to do it. They laugh, they joke, they complain, but two by two, they actually went up to do it.
So just out of curiosity, why did we complain and still do it?
I think it's reflex.
You're being politically correct, aren't you?
I mean, I teach my children that, focus on what is good, what is right, what is noble, and think of it. And
You
do
know,
it.
and that leads me to my next question. You went there with your children.
One child.
With your
Later,
son, and then
number
later
two
you
kid.
have another child. You know, it's not your choice location to bring your family, is it? With due respect to Yunnan, it's not. I mean, most of our
My
family
children would
members-
debate that. My children would tell every pregnant mother, "You want a good child?" Say, they would stand in front of them and smile and say, "We don't watch TV, you know."
No, that's what I want to know. How did they adapt?
Over there or over here?
Over there and then back here.
I mean, they grew up there, right? They grew up, my kids grew up playing in the fruit orchard. We stay on the fringe of town, where we stay in the Tan Wei. If I may introduce this book, now that I saw Mr. Chua Chongjin, Mr. Chua Chongjin kindly edited this book, Biting the Bamboo, and this book was written for ITE. Every year the ITE, the Institute of Technical Education, they go up to do a project, Reservoir Toilet, and this is in its 5th edition, right? And what is unique about this project is that I'm not generalizing, but ITE, when they go on their trips, bring along a few scholars from Raffles, RI. And I think out in the countryside, I guess the students from RI learn many lessons from the ITE students. Yeah.
So it's the taming of the shrew.
So my students, my kids grew up there on the fringe of town. They grew up as playing in the orchard. My neighbor had elephants. My little boy would bring a peanut every day to feed the elephant. And you will just imagine the impact on this little boy that he will hold up the peanut and the elephants will come.
For that one peanut?
For that one peanut. You can hold up a huge comb of banana, the elephant also come. You hold up a star fruit, the elephant also come. And the elephant knows this little boy. Wow. It is an interesting way to grow up.
No, it certainly is. And the final question before we open it up to the floor for discussion. Okay. Don't take this wrong. A lot of Singaporeans, I'm noticing, school children as well, are desiring to go to Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines to do social work, to understand social work. When actually, they have not even heard of Red Hill or Bukit Ho Swee in Singapore, where there's a lot of room for social work. It's become almost fashionable for us to say, I went to Cambodia to do social work, I went to Yunnan to do social work, without really understanding the plight of people right in your doorstep who can get help from you. So, do you see that this is a trend? And do you think that you going to Yunnan and coming back and talking about it is highly inspiring, but would it sort of exacerbate this trend, this pattern of going abroad, forgetting that charity does begin at home?
I mean, I do tell people that the air ticket to Yunnan is twice the air ticket to Cambodia and Vietnam. There are no budget flights. You know, by that alone, I think we send a signal to them. Why are you coming?
Yeah.
Right. So we always ask, what happens before? What happens after? Right. The minimum that happens before for me is they should be doing some reading outside their textbook. The minimum after is they should send a photograph of the village kid back to them. Maybe the only photograph that the village kid will have. I can't tell trend. I've been back in Singapore 4 months. But on one hand, I am encouraged that we are perhaps one of the few countries who formulate that our students have service learning. Formulation, when I think of formulation, I always think of milk powder. Breast milk is always good. And my Chinese is chaotic, okay? I'm from the generation where you don't need Chinese to go to university. And
I'm sure it's better than mine. Okay.
I remember asking the first nursing mother that I met, asking whether she breastfeed her baby. Milk to me is 牛奶. I asked her, 你有没有给你的牛奶给 baby 喝?
What does that mean?
Did you give your cow's milk to the baby? And the mother said, 我不是牛. Formulation is a problem. I mean, in the village, we dare not give formula milk to the babies.
Yeah.
They always get diarrhea because of the hygiene.
Right.
We teach them to boil the bottles. They boil the bottles, and then after that, they use their dirty cloth to wipe it. So formulation always has this problem. This formula milk has so much good stuff in it,
Yeah.
but once it's formularized, it can be deadly.
Yes.
So similarly, I mean, in Singapore, we have formularized service educations from primary school, secondary school, they come. It's a formula.
Yeah.
And I think those of us who are in charge of exercising that formula, those of us are in a position to let the compassion and the heart come through. It's quite clear when I interact with team leaders. It's quite clear very quickly which are the team leaders that volunteered to be team leaders and which are the team leaders who cannot arrow to go.
Yeah.
And the team leaders who volunteered, you know, they are passionate, the compassion flows through, the way they get the students to go the extra mile, it comes through.
Right.
Yeah. So I think in the end, we have a formula, we have the resources to go out. I would say, yeah, still go out, better that than hanging around at a casino. Right? But get out there, learn something, do something, they will learn.
Yeah. And perhaps like you, when you come back from that experience, you're richer for it and in a better position to help our own people and come up with some solutions and inspired perhaps. With that, let's hear from you. Questions, comments, no speeches, please. See, this happens quite often. Let's take about a half an hour break. Yeah, yes.
Hi, I'm Valerie. I'm the web moderator for today. So I have a couple of questions from the web. The first one comes from a user named Irons, and she has two short things that she wants to ask.
Where's she from? Do you know?
No, I just have their usernames.
So, student?
Most probably a student,
Okay.
or an alumni, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to ask if Dr. Tan has any plans to go back to Yunnan or anywhere else. And another interesting comment she made was she asked if it's stressful to treat patients in Singapore compared to the patients you treated in Yunnan, and what are the differences?
Am I going back to Yunnan? I left because there was a good team in place. They are Chinese, written, spoken much better than mine. They are better trained in evidence-based family medicine. And in the culture of the Chinese, that if I don't leave, they will always think I'm in charge, no matter what you tell them. So for the past 2 years, we have handed over. And if I'm still physically there, they'll come and ask me, why isn't that child, can you help that child? Can you put the child number 1 for surgery? I say, I'm not in charge. It's a clinical decision. I say, there's a new leader, you know. They look at me and smile. They say, no, you're still in charge. I say, no, I'm not in charge. The new leader's in charge. They look at me and smile and say, your country is not like that, right?
Whoops.
This is what they tell me. And so I thought it was time for me to leave, right? So that the new leader is totally in charge. And we have definitely tried not to go back unless, but my children want to go back. For the first time in my 16-year-old daughter's life, she gets pocket money, first time. I mean, she never had pocket money in Yunnan. Right?
She didn't need
pocket money. So she was putting money in a tin can, bringing bread to school. And I said, what's going on? She says, I'm saving my airfare to go back to Yunnan end of the year.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what she wants to do.
So how old is she now?
She's 16? JC1?
Yeah.
Is it stressful to treat patients in Yunnan? I think the patient-doctor relationship is special, irregardless of whatever setting we work in. Right? And I used to be a doctor for prisoners in Singapore, and many of my fiercest letters were to government agency on behalf of patients. The patient-doctor relationship is unique, is special. It's not really stressful in that sense, that we work at a slower pace. We rely a lot more on prayer. We hope that things don't go wrong. we have to beg a bit. I mean, I may tell you a story. One day, the first time I raised 1,000 Singapore dollars for a man up in the mountains. He came down with rotten ulcers. His ulcers all rotting away, and he needed amputation. You know, in Hokkien we call the chao ka, you know, the rotten leg. So
he was diabetic.
He wasn't. He was just paralyzed and all. So we paid the hospital on a Friday, and they amputated. Right? Was it stressful? No, not stressful. You know. At 5 o'clock on a Friday, the hospital director calls me and said, Chen Yizhen, Dr. Tan? I said, yes. Says, our hospital incinerator broke down. I said, so? What's it going to do with me? You know, in that setting, I'm just the benevolent sponsor. Says, oh, now you have to take that rotten leg across town to the next hospital and have it incinerated. I said, that's me. I said, yes, since it's your patient. I said, okay. I said, can I just bring a body part to another hospital and say, hey, burn it for me? What would they think, you know? They said, yeah, you cannot do it. You might be murder. You might have murdered somebody at this member area. I said, yeah. They said, oh, you need to come to our hospital, get a letter from our hospital director, bring it to the police station to have it certified it's true, and bring to the other hospital to show, and then the other hospital will incinerate for you. I said, yes, on a Friday afternoon, 5 o'clock. I said, yes. So the stress is, don't get angry. Refrain from anger, smile.
Wow.
Turn up, smile, and they say, so you're going to take the leg? I said, yeah. He told me to. I said, what are you going to do with it? I said, I'm going to drive 1 hour into the mountain, dig a hole and throw inside. Is that what you did? They said, that's what you're going to do. I said, that's what I'm going to do. I asked them, I said, do you think it's possible for me to get a letter from your director to the police? They said, yeah, it's impossible. I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bury it in the mountain, and then you are happy, I'm happy. They look at me and smile. They say, you tao li. That means that's correct.
Wow.
We'll take care of the lake.
Was that the same mountain you planted the trees?
Oh. So the matron basically said, yeah, it's all right. You can go home. We'll take care of it. Yeah. So the stress is not indifferent. Okay.
Yeah.
I think very poor patients, when they know that nothing can be done. People ask me what's the difference between a doctor here and a doctor in a poor society. Is you just cry more. You just hold their hands, they cry, you cry, and then after that, it's all right. They know that you are with them.
One interesting point that you shared with me earlier is, the help you got from the community, and especially the young, and the village doctors. You trained the village doctors, right? Do you know how young the village doctors are? Make a guess. Huh? 15 years old. 14 years old. Those kids you saw earlier, they are village doctors that he trained. Right?
Youngest was about 14, 15 years old.
How do you train them? How long does it take?
In Sichuan Mana, when we started, it was a 10-week course. They get a basic training, the 10-week course, and then they go back and work for about 6 months. Then they come for a refresher course, 3 weeks of infectious disease. Then they go back and come back again for mother and child health training. That was the whole module over 2 years.
So would you want to share with us how the system, you introduced the system, right? How the system work?
Because I couldn't speak Chinese, right? I had to do interactive teaching. I quickly find out who are the smartest students. So when I ask a question, one student gives the answer, I always ask the smartest student, what do you think? Right? We make it interactive, we make it what in Singapore known as bedside teaching, right? Give case studies, tutorials, and sometimes the old village doctors, those who are experienced, will just burst out, oh, is that the name for this disease? I said, yes, that's the name of the disease. Yeah, I see it all the time. I treated it all the time. I didn't know the name. Right? So we do it through, we copied a lot SAF medic, how the SAF train a medical orderly.
Wow.
I found that very useful. The drills, right? We got them to hospitals to see things being done, right? And on the last week, what we did is we brought the team back into a village, teachers and students. One teacher a city doctor with to about 4 students, and we see patients together, like a free clinic.
Yeah, okay.
And then they learn to prescribe, they learn to work. Then when we come back, and we say, imagine the last exercise, imagine if you have 750 renminbi, that means about 150 Singapore dollars at that time. Set up a clinic. Okay, 4 students, set up a clinic. And we had clinics all over the classroom. What medicines we will buy? That means stock take, equipment, everything. Right? And when they set it up, they write down their whole inventory on a big piece of mahjong paper, and then we send in role play patients. Patients coming with backache, pregnant women, old people, and they treat. They're supposed to treat, and they'll say, "Oh, I got 10cc syringe, but no 5cc syringe. Right? I don't have enough. I'm running out of this." So we do a whole day exercise on this. So after they treat the patient, we ask them, "Okay, count the cost. How much are you going to charge?" And they laugh. In those days, they always say, "Oh, we serve the people, 人民服务." I said, no. I said, "I'm here," and that's where the party officials got a bit nervous with me. I said, "I'm here to teach you how to run a clinic to make money, but make it honestly, make it well." Because in their setup that time, doctors cannot make money.
Yes.
Must serve. I said, "You will go bankrupt." So we help them charge even bus fare, motorcycle petrol, and we help them to come up. So that was our final exercise. You know, they see patients, they treated, they bill, they total up. Right? And that was how we went through modules and after modules.
So they actually dispense medication as well?
They always dispense medication.
They're trained to do that?
They were doing that before I trained them.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you just formalized it, the Singapore style. But what's the system? So the village doctor is like the first line of defense, right? So they come in, they see the village doctor, and then if it's too complex for them to handle, they refer to?
They are supposed to refer to the township clinic, which is a 20-bed hospital. Most of them skip the township clinic. The township clinic is the weakest link in the Chinese healthcare system. They will always send it to the county hospital.
Okay.
And often, sometimes they even skip the county hospital, they send it straight to the prefectural hospital, which is actually a 500-bed hospital with CT scans. Okay. But the price goes up.
And so, if they go to so from which level do you have qualified doctors?
In Yunnan, county level.
County. Okay.
That means, college graduate, not necessarily university graduate, polytechnic level, or ITE level.
Is there a downside risk to this practice? I mean, for example, malpractice.
Malpractice is a big problem in China. I mean, doctors get beaten up. They don't have lawsuit. They just
get beaten up. Okay. It's quite an efficient system.
Maybe questions? Yeah. Yeah.
It's cost effective. Yeah. So, can you just give us an example of one kind of a situation where it went wrong? Something went wrong, misdiagnosis or?
Oh, thankfully for our team, we work with the very poor. Right? The very poor are very grateful for whatever we do to them.
Yeah.
Okay. We try to set very high standards. So when surgical teams come from Singapore, they are consultants. We make it very clear we're not there to practice. Right? The consultants come. Right? So we try to set a very high standard of practice. And we have good volunteers, caregivers, who prep the patients before they come. And so we're very thankful that our patients were grateful to us. But in the city, there was once, a dental team came, extracted a tooth, and then 1 hour later, this lady came back and fainted in front of everybody, asking for compensation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And offers, you did all the tests, you know that she's faking it. This is where army training is very good. This is, type A malingering, very good. But what can you do, right? She's lying there and everything like that. And then later I checked the history. I found that she wasn't a 本地人. She wasn't a local person. She was from another province. And I said, these are the kind of people we don't have the trust, we don't have the relationship. Right. She didn't understand who we were. Right? She thought we were just another rich, wealthy, some kind of foreign aid group that came and with lots of money to dispense. And they didn't understand that we were actually self-funding. Even our surgeons who come, they pay for their own airfares. So the villagers who know us, they know that these guys are self-funded. They don't do these things with us.
Right.
So later on, we learned that, hey, this what they call 外地人 who have no relationship with us, really, we have to establish a relationship before we offer our care.
My name is Tan Siping. Alumni long ago, 1955. I just want to find out from you whether you go to that new place, essentially you are Western trained, Western medicine with syringes, surgery and so on. But in the village, they have their traditional healing people, right? So are you not replacing your Western medicine with the traditional one? Because I cite one good example. I grew up in Johor, and I used to see my grandmother with people coming to her to heal them, babies and so on, and she seemed to do it very well. She put her finger into the mouth and press, the baby stopped crying, right? And then I myself also get it because I used to get cramp in my leg. She come here, she press, wow, so nice, you know. So I was thinking, traditionally they grew up, I don't know who taught her the healing methods and so on, and they seem to do pretty well, I would say, except for the new, maybe dengue fever and so on. Those, they are beyond their ken, right? But when you go there, will you replace the traditional healing or not? Because I think it's worthwhile preserving, because in that places, in the middle of the night, where to get a doctor to serve you, right? So if you have a neighbor who know how to do this small thing, isn't it better, more effective than to go down how many kilometers to find the nearest doctor? Can you comment?
Qing Hao soup was a lesson for me. If you understand Qing Hao is artemeter. It is the cure for malaria. Places using chloroquine and all were developing resistance. And I read about Qing Hao. And I asked the village doctors, hey, show me a Qing Hao plant. They said, no. I said, maybe they don't understand me. Show me the Qing Hao plant. No. It grows everywhere. It's a weed. And this plant is prized in Africa, among, it's really a good treatment for malaria. So I asked them, how do you treat malaria? Oh, this one, take the plant, how much, throw inside, boil, and then drink the soup. I said, yeah, there's this Qing Hao tablet. Okay. It's true that they have traditional cures. Okay. But I think we are also going in on hard facts, as you mentioned. But the traditional cure do not handle diabetes, do not handle malaria, do not handle dengue, do not handle the fact that in very poor areas, 50% of the babies die before 5 years old. Right. So I think resources being limited, we are going in to look at these niche things and say, can we help some mothers live through childbirth? Through very simple things. In those days, CPD, what we call cephalopelvic disproportion. That means the baby is too big for the mother's pelvis. How do we do it? We just ask. We know that, say, below 1.5 meters height, the mother is too small, but they don't have measuring tape. So we just say, okay, today everybody line up together. If the pregnant woman in your village is less than, for the village doctor, less than your elbow, send her to the hospital. Just go. Right? Don't need to do anything. Right? Don't need to measure any other thing. So we use very simple methods to get them going. But unfortunately, traditional medicine is dying in China. Dying very quickly. And it's a problem of money. The acupuncturist, no matter how skillful, is allowed to charge 10 or 20 renminbi. The novice acupuncturist also charge 10 to 20 renminbi. By law, they cannot charge more.
Yeah.
And after a while, the Shifu is not interested. Right? He's rather sell you medicine at 500 and earn money. So the system against that. So knowing that, we, in our part 3 of our course, we put 2 days free. We go out to the mountains and find healers, herbalists to come down. They say, they only speak their own dialect, Aka or Miao. They can't speak Chinese. They say, we are not teachers, we don't know how to teach. And it will stress them. They will refuse to, they don't know how to teach. So we said, never mind, just bring 10 herbs, put on the table. Right? And the students go around like buffet. Oh, this one do what? Oh, how you use this? This one boil, this one's make koyo. And they just talk to each other. We just give time. So we just provide the structure, right? And let the learning take place. But then I followed a very famous male village doctor around, and he wouldn't teach. There is still this old idea of the Kung Fu master. I cannot teach you everything. Right, where you kill me with the last stroke. So unfortunately, that is true. So this male village doctor, who is supposed to be a very good healer, when he goes up to the mountains to collect herbs, he takes detours now. He takes buses all over so that nobody follows them. Then he comes back with some herbs, and people are none the wiser. So that part of culture is very hard. If they don't want to teach, we also cannot do anything. So I don't think we are there to destroy traditional medicine. Okay? I think we are there to say that some of these things are useful and good, cheap, do it.
My name is James. I'm actually a 1981 graduate. I have a question for Dr. Tan. Actually, that's the purpose I'm coming here. Because what actually inspired you to go there and then to teach them, what you have learned in school? I think that is what, in my heart I try to understand.
Yeah. Great question. Yeah.
I think, as a graduate, from this medicine school, so, you can enjoy a very good life in Singapore. I believe so. So what actually, you spend so many years in Yunnan and in doing that kind of, voluntary service? Is that because of, some, what is your personal believing that, this is kind of giving back to the society?
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
A few things. Many of the senior people here, I also grew up in an age where Singapore wasn't rich. I'm the youngest of 7 children, and actually up to pre-university, I never knew that Singapore had a university. I never knew that I could go to a university. When I received my A-level results, it was my platoon mate from RI, and I was from Sigap school. He said me, Lai Yong, let's go together, medical school. Fill up the form for me, he sent it in for me. Somebody else, I think my sister paid the $5, right? Because I have no idea where SU or NUS or joint campus was. But anyway, when I got into medical school, I told my mother, I said, and she was scrubbing the washing clothes on the scrub board. I told her in Cantonese, I said, hey, I got into medical school. I'm the youngest of 7. And my mother, knowing me, she has seen the other older siblings, knowing that they actually have higher IQ and better academic qualities, and look at me struggle through school, told me, there's no need. There's no need for you to go to medical school. You can go and study something easier, right? So she told me that, number 1, we have no money. Number 2, say, I'm your mother. You are my son. I don't need to go to the market to tell people I have a son who is a doctor. You are my son, you are always my son. That's enough. And that was so liberating for me. Because by then, going through the interviews I discovered that there were people who were going to medical school because they are educated parents. My mother was illiterate. Because their educated parents forced them, coerced them into medical school. Yeah. I felt, wow, this is a mother who loves me. Right? For that, I will try. Applied to PSC, got a bursary, finished medical school. I always felt that going to medical school is God's gift to me. Right? If it's God's gift to me, I hold it lightly. And if we could practice our medical skills among people who need it badly, I consider it a privilege. I had a Sunday school teacher who told me, if God asks you to be a servant, don't stoop to be a king. Right? And encouraged me on. Right? So it was difficult. I mean, so in order to be trained, I found that actually training in the prison medical system was very good because you work in the confined.
Yeah.
You cannot refer because the prisoners, you have to look after them until you really can't help it, then you can refer, right? So I find that the prison medical system was one system in Singapore that could make me become more than a generalist. I didn't want to specialize because at that time to specialize means I would be bonded another 5 years. If I was bonded 13 years together, I knew I would never get out of Singapore. So I chose to be in prison for 3 years, right, and practice my medical skill. There was very good training. And at that time, friends became eye surgeons, gynecologists. At wedding dinners, it was very tough. They would say, okay, hey, you got eye problem, refer to me now. You got an orthopedic problem, refer to each other. Who want to refer to me? I'm a prison doctor. So I used to say, hey, I know, if your patient don't pay bill, I know. Scratch car, $50. Throw acid on the wall, $100. I said, just tell me, break bone, $200. I know who to get. Yeah. So that was the time. Yeah. But I always, as a Christian, I always consider that medical skill was something that God has given me, right? And I'm very proud of NUS Medical School, the bedside teaching, the finesse that we were taught. In China, the average medical student has higher IQ than me. I always tell my students in medical school that in Chinese medical school, I visit medical schools, I say that, frankly, if I was born in China, I would have never qualified for medical school. Their average IQ is higher than me, right? But the finesse, the coaching, the mentoring that we receive in small groups in medical school in Singapore, actually it was very, very good.
Very inspiring. Thank you. And along those lines, if you could share with us, Lai Yong, what would be your most precious takeaway from your experience in Yunnan, having come back and had time to reflect?
I think my family and I learned many things. We made many good friends. We seen prayer answered. We see families blossom. My kids are still very young. They'll be embarrassed if I tell them. I mean, they still have a long way of growing up ahead of them. But I think the poverty they saw will be a part of their lives. I remember my daughter coming back once and was tasked by my mother-in-law. It's very natural. My mother-in-law was choosing green beans. And it's very natural for my children that when somebody do something, you just sit down and help.
Yeah.
So she too was choosing the green beans. And then, green beans, the sand and the stone you throw away. And then the crooked green beans, the one that is not green beans shaped, my mother-in-law also put aside, asked her to throw away. So she took the green beans to me. I said, Papa, Popo said throw this away. I said, hey, this is problem, Mother-in-law said throw lah. I mean, I have no jurisdiction in this house, no power. So I said, if Popo asks you throw lah. Then she walked back and forth for a while. And she said, but Papa, why should we throw these beans away? They are just crooked. I said, problem. I said, who asked you to throw away? I said, Popo said throw away. I said, Popo asked you to throw away. You can throw away. So then she sat down for a while and she turned back and asked me, are these beans? I said, yes. That's when she was about 5 years old. She said, are these beans? I said, yes, these are beans. She said that if I took these beans that are crooked or misshapen and plant it, when the beans grow up, will the new bean seed be crooked and misshapen?
Wow.
I said, no, my girl. I said, no. The beans may just turn out fine and beautiful. He said, there, I solved your problem. We should not throw them away. I learned a lesson from my daughter. I think a lesson we should learn for a long time. I also learned that beautiful beans get eaten.
So what happened to the spoon?
So, yeah, I mean, basically she learned that she can plant it. In the household, she can say that, if there is, I mean, we work with disabled people.
Yeah.
We work with people that look abnormal, people with burns, faces. So in our home, our kids have just grown up talking to them quite naturally. Right? People with scars on the face, people who are deaf and blind. To them, it is part of the world, ordinary. It's okay. And they learn too. I remember going to a leprosy village up in the mountains, very poor, deserted. And here am I with all my, with foreign nurses and physiotherapists and all equipment. And we want to do things for the lepers, these poor people. At the end of the day, they came and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for bringing your children. You see, I bring my children. They were running, chasing chicken, playing, everything. And they were basically saying, we have not seen children for 20 years. Nobody will bring their children to our village. But you guys, you brought your children. Right? And for that, we thank you. We heard them laugh, we saw them play. It is wonderful. So the takeaway lesson I learned, well, my kids learn a lot. I learned from our children. And the children had their role in the most beautiful way.
Well, thank you very much, Lai Yong, and welcome home.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have certainly been one of the most inspiring speakers here, and I'm very, very sure that you touched our lives in very special ways, each one of us. And we're very, very proud to have you as our alumni.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have, in Singaporean style, we've got something for you, a gift. It's a live photograph of us, just taken now, I'm sure you couldn't do this in Yunnan, right? But it's from us to you, with affection.
Thanks.
Thank you. And you can put that down. And this one is something we keep from you. Right? We just need you to say some nice things about us. Here. You can start with Dear Vishwa. Oh, okay.
So, write something?
You can write something.
Okay.
Just make sure it's nice. And you're a doctor, so try and write clearly. I don't think he's a real doctor. I can read his writing. You want to read it to us?
Oh. Dear You Life, thank you for reminding us to live at the leaf-line age, to grow outwards, upwards, inwards.
Great, great. And I must say, it's a very apt message on nomination day. Thank you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to step out. There's some light eats. And those of you who want to stay on for another half an hour for a more intimate and more in-depth chat with the good doctor, we're going to be proceeding to the seminar room just adjacent for a chat. So those of you who want to find out more, it's a smaller, more cozy setting, right? So thank you very much for joining us today. And this is a message from our sponsors. Vote wisely.
Or if may add, this book, Binding the Bamboo, there's a Chinese edition. PRC scholars in NUS translated this, and it's also available outside.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's not sponsored by our sponsor.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us today. As Vijay has mentioned, if you'd like to join the speaker, please proceed to Seminar Room 1 for a short chat session. And also, if you wish to nominate a future speaker, please do so at the feedback forms given to you. Thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next You Alive session.